Namaskar. We will continue with the book How to Overcome Mental Tension by Swami Gokulanadaji Maharaj. Today we will finish the last part of the chapter Living is Fun. So far in this chapter, Maharaj had explained about the positive attitude of acceptance and reconciliation as the first step in getting rid of tension. Maharaj continues. On first hearing the term, one wonders what it means. Before we look for an explanation, let me draw your attention to a similar expression in the Gospels of Sri Ramakrishna. In it, the Master advises us to drift like a leaf carried by the wind, and this implies that we should adopt an attitude of surrender. Dr. Wicks explains that when we go to a beach and want to dive into the sea, it is useless to stand on the shore in a rigid and tense posture. Then the waves, which are very high, may overwhelm us. What we should do is to face the coming waves boldly in order to become an efficient surf rider. It needs strength and courage to face the onslaught of the waves and dive in. Once we are in, we should allow the body to be moved by the waves, which will carry us back to the shore. All this can be achieved only if we have the right amount of self effort or purushakar. We can again quote an example given by Sri Ramakrishna. He would often say that divine grace is like the wind. The wind of God's grace is ever blowing, but we have to hoist and unfurl the sail, and the rest will be done by the wind itself. In other words, we need to cultivate an attitude of implicit faith and surrender, letting go in a spirit of detachment. Floating here does not connote a kind of lazy or lethargic apathy. Maharaj says an example may help to clarify this point. Suppose a person has to appear for an interview, he can prepare in advance and acquit himself creditably. But if he has a rigid mind, prejudiced from before, he will fare miserably. That is why floating has been suggested as one of the methods for overcoming tension. But then there is a problem of applying it to non believers because we have used words such as faith and surrender in explaining the term floating. There are many people in this world who do not believe in God. Here we have to recall the words of Swami Vivekananda, whose definition of an atheist is a person who has no faith in himself. Swamiji said that the older definition of an atheist as a person who does not believe in God has to be contemporized in this way. It stands to reason that no achievement or success is possible for a person who has no faith in himself. Self confidence helps us to tap our latent potential, and therefore, Dr. Vick's description of floating can be applied to all people irrespective of the fact of their belief or otherwise in the existence of God. Another point which is crucial to our understanding of this attitude called floating is our awareness that people have two types of responses to a particular situation, positive and negative. Some people are prone to consider the darker aspect of life as all important and fail to see that life has its brighter aspect too. We need not deny that life is full of dangers, trials, and tribulations. But that is not all. Those who are positive in their approach to life do not spend all their time in dwelling on problems. Many of us have seen that well known picture which depicts two half filled buckets of water. Near each is a person, one with a gloomy expression and the other with a bright countenance. The former says, "What use is a half filled bucket to me?" while the latter says, "Thank God for this half filled bucket." The former is a pessimist, while the latter is an optimist. A pessimist feels dejected, morose, and unwanted. He is never able to overcome mental tension, while an optimist has the strength to handle any type of challenging situation. Then we have the third point mentioned by Dr. Wicks, which refers to time. Time is a great factor which determines our life. It teaches us to have patience and perseverance. We struggle in the framework of time and also achieve success by overcoming our problems in time. Our mistakes and failures lead us to success. We must remember the words of Swami Vivekananda in this context. He said, "Never mind failures, they are quite natural. They are the beauty of life." In this connection, we can take an example given by Dr. Wicks. A young woman had to struggle hard in early life. She finally got a job and was engaged to be married. Unfortunately, her father fell ill at the same time. One day, when she was alone at home, a man broke into the house and attacked her. It took her many years to overcome the after effects of this shattering experience. Finally, she consulted Dr. Wicks, who advised her to cultivate the attitude of floating. Ultimately, this helped the young woman to get out of her difficulties. Dr. Wicks' formulation is based on her long experience, and similar thought patterns exist in many religious books and also verdicts of saints from different parts of the world. Dr. Wicks puts forward this 3 point formula to help train the mind so that it is in tune with one's inner self. She believes that the patient's inner voice is his or her salvation. Maharaj says, "My own personal experience confirms the efficacy of this advice." Maharaj says, "My own personal experience confirms the efficacy of this advice. In 1954, when I had just joined the order, I went up to Swami Vishuddhanandaji, the then vice president of the order, and showed him a self analysis chart to check how many of the 26 virtues mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita I had been able to practice. I wanted to do this as an effort towards self improvement." Maharaj listened to my explanation and looked through the chart patiently. Then he said, "Good, but my son, it will be sufficient if you practice only one virtue." I wondered why Maharaj was telling me to practice only one when Sri Krishna had told Arjun to follow all the 26. Fortunately, I asked him to explain more fully and listened to his words with great attention. He said, "The voice of your conscience is the voice of God. It is enough if you follow this inner voice." Then he narrated a story about a child who had accompanied his mother while Maharaj was giving Diksha on one occasion. When Maharaj asked the child, "When you do something wrong, does your mind tell you anything?" The child said at once, "Yes, Maharaj. When I do wrong, my mind tells me it is wrong." Swami Gokulanadaji continues, "Maharaj wanted me to learn to be like the child, always open to the voice of conscience, which tells us everything. Our basic divine heritage, that we are Satchitananda Sarup, is often forgotten by us. But if we keep this in mind, amid our busy schedule, we can periodically retire into the inner sanctuary of our heart and hold silent communion with our real self. This will bring about a spiritual unfoldment. The inner conscious prompts us to do what is right and avoid what is wrong. We have to rise above the mind body complex. Then we shall be able to handle our tensions and lead a balanced life. Hope you all have enjoyed this episode. In the next episode, Swami Gokulananji will discuss Towards Perfection. Till then, stay tuned to Devakshar, like and share our videos, and do subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much for being with us.